AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our host brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI in Action cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career. To listen to the latest AI in Action podcast, head over to www.alldus.com/podcast or subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Podcasts.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Georgios Ouzounis. Georgios is the Vice President of Data Science at ElectrifAI. Georgios, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, JP. Nice to be here.
Our pleasure. Georgios, let's start with a little bit of background of yourself, how you first got involved in technology, some of the roles that you've held along the way, taking us up to your current position at ElectrifAI.
My story starts approximately 26 years ago in tech, when I realized that becoming an astronaut was not really an option. So I started my studies in electrical engineering and moved into computer science due to all the exciting developments that were happening around computer technology, both in hardware and in software. And feeling intrigued by the scientific challenges that remained unanswered, I then moved into mathematics, which allowed me pretty much to establish myself as an expert in algorithms for image analysis, processing, computer vision, and machine learning. In the course of time, I changed a number of different roles and positions. I served the healthcare industry. I served the remote sensing industry. And I did a small time with the insurance industry as well. And now I'm back to medical imaging, which is what my current duties and role is all about.
Excellent. Thank you for that. So you mentioned they're currently working in medical imaging. So for people listening who are not familiar with ElectrifAI, could you please give an overview of the company, what you guys are working on, and then we can lead into your role as the VP of Data Science?
Sure. So ElectrifAI is a practical AI and ML company with a history of over 16 years. So it specializes in delivering advanced AI solutions that maximize the operational performance, if you will, and minimize risk for our business clients. So we do this at scale and with open source technologies using the cloud and all the latest technologies that are available today.
Excellent, really interesting stuff. So look, you and I have spoke previously, and the services across the business span multiple industries and very customized depending on an individual company's requirements. Could you give us some insight into the types of projects you're currently working on? I know we spoke briefly about medical imaging. Could you talk to us a little bit about what you're doing in this space and how it's unique to what other organizations are currently working on?
So ElectrifAI has a list of 10 top products, with Procurement AI Suite being the top product of them all, incorporating most of the remaining ones in a single offering. So briefly, we can identify anomalies in spend, whether these are missing charges, undesirable recurring charges, redundancies, fraud, contractual risk, and things of the kind. So we help companies save hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, by detecting patterns that require the attention of the C-suite executives and empower them with knowledge that is otherwise way too time-consuming and costly to acquire. Regarding the image AI and products around the image space in general, and maybe more specific about the medical imaging, let me just say that ElectrifAI continuously invests money and resources in exploring new technologies and addressing new challenges that matter. So the Image AI team has been assembled exactly in this spirit. And the motivation for creating this team was pretty much to explore what can be done in the image world in order to improve, again, performance of companies and minimize risk. So our innovative technologies that we developed primarily focus in bringing back to life massive data lakes sitting idle in some costly storage. So accessing vast amounts of image data, such as medical image exams using CT, MRI, and X-ray hardware in hospitals, and converting them into AI and ML ready material allows the hosting institutions to monetize on an otherwise frozen asset. So we've demonstrated the value of doing so by putting our hands on lung datasets training our sophisticated algorithms and deploying them in an unprecedented application for the detection, segmentation, and quantification of the COVID-19 related symptoms from both CT and X-ray data. This is our product that is known as PulmoAI, and it can now be found in some of the country's top hospitals, offering immediate assistance to the staff confronting this crisis and easing the stress in the emergency rooms.
I mean, that's incredible. And for anyone who's just listening, I would highly encourage you to check out some of the visuals that are posted on ElectrifAI's LinkedIn page and website. It really does capture the technology in stunning visuals. So it's very exciting indeed. Focusing then on your role as VP of Data Science, could you give us some insight as to what it is you're doing on a day-to-day basis, some of the projects that you're leading, and what are the challenges that you face in such a multidisciplinary function?
Being a VP of Data Science, perhaps the title is slightly misleading. So it is indeed data science, but we narrow the scope down to image. So perhaps it would be more appropriate to talk about computer vision rather than data science here. But the fact of the matter is that, yes, the duties include running teams smoothly in order to address some of the biggest challenges out there regarding the medical images, how to proceed with efficient ways, and efficient is something that I will elaborate in a second, for accessing what makes the difference for the doctors and delivers outcomes, whether these are diagnostic or otherwise, in the most obvious and cost-effective and smooth manner. So efficiency means low cost, high speed, high reliability. And in order to do that, the works that we are doing in ElectrifAI are involving experts from a large pool of different specializations: engineers, data scientists, machine learning experts, computer vision experts, people that do market research, people that do public relations, and all together working harmoniously in order to understand what exactly is needed and what exactly needs to be delivered.
Excellent. So your focus specifically on computer vision, which has, a broad range of applications, but staying on medical imaging for two reasons. One, obviously, it's incredibly exciting, but equally, you talked on the PulmoAI product. To help us understand some of the steps that it takes to bring a product like PulmoAI to market, but equally some of the biggest challenges that you face in these types of advancements.
I think that regarding PulmoAI, the biggest challenge that we faced was the urgency. So the moment the idea was conceived until the moment that we actually delivered was pretty much, a matter of a week and a half. So we had a request for an urgent solution in the absence of swab tests, in the poor performance of the swab tests, and of course the inability of guaranteeing that the same quality tests will be available the day after. So the question was, can we have a secondary means of diagnosing COVID that would be invariant to all those factors and that we can always go back to if everything else fails? So given the urgency of the situation, all the experts assembled and we designed a prototype. We tested very quickly a prototype. We requested data, real field data, as opposed to samples that can be found online in order to validate our methods. And we were very happy to see that the technology that we have proposed and we put forward was actually outperforming what we've seen in various publications out there. And not only it was outperforming it, but it was an actual practical solution. It was not a piece of research that was done and left on the shelf. So what makes us particularly proud is the fact that we dare to walk the last mile. We dare to actually address these very hard and challenging questions and deliver solutions, that can keep the experts satisfied and enable them to do their work properly.
That's got to be incredibly fulfilling for both yourself, the team, and the company to be able to have such an immediate impact on, what is incredibly critical technology. Equally, with technology and imaging, you are able to fast track the success because you're not reliant on clinical trials and studies. You're showing visuals, which can be incredibly beneficial because it's instantaneous. Focusing then on your team and taking into account the various leadership roles you've held along the way, and as you now build a team which, as you touched on, requires multiple skill sets. Creating value within a data science group and building a team, what does the ideal data science team look like to you, and how do you go about assembling it?
Right. So the data science team requires a lot of specializations. And I think the core expertise is indeed data science, whatever that includes. I can just briefly mention a couple of topics that are relevant. Computer science being the most obvious one, mathematics being also of crucial importance. The ability of members to code effectively, to use latest technologies that indeed make use of of everything that makes sense to be used out there. And it is unfair to leave outside the people that do the communication, because a vital aspect of data science is propagating your findings, your results in a way that can be absorbed and understood best by your audience. So we are speaking our own language many times between us, but whatever we do needs to be thoroughly explained and presented to the outside world. And this is why I think that it's vital to have the right people for the right job.
No, I think that's incredibly helpful and some very important points. Focusing on your area that you spend a lot of time working on, and clearly you've given a great example of medical imaging with the Pulmo AI. What are you most excited about going forward working at ElectrifAI on some of the work that you're doing and further advancements of the products that you're taking to market?
So what we have seen is that many healthcare institutions and hospitals have vast amounts of data that, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, stay idle. And there is nothing that can be done. There is no way to actually monetize them that is straightforward, obvious, and cost effective. So what this results into is that there is a recurring storage fee that doesn't change over time, and there is nothing to actually fund this. So hospitals have to pay for storage, and they don't take anything back in return. So with our technology, we have managed to automate the annotation process of medical data sets, and essentially for the very first time enable not only fast queries as to what is it that I have in my storage, but also can I extract that. So we answer that question. We have the technology to be able to extract fast everything that is found to be relevant to every data science question that is being asked, and thus empower the hospital or the healthcare institution to monetize this and sell data that can empower the AI community at scale. We do this in a way that is very cost effective, and we do not use any expensive hardware. We use the cloud, however, in order to be able to parallelize this process. And in principle, should you have 1,000 or 10,000 data sets that you need in order to train an AI algorithm, what we concluded is that you can do all these in a matter of few minutes, simply because you can spin off these automated segmentation processes in parallel and thus get all the necessary material to train your algorithms at the minimal time and at the minimal cost. This is a very exciting area, and I think that this is what will drive the specific team into the future.
I think it's incredibly exciting, and for anyone listening who's worked in healthcare data, they know the many challenges they face with data access and how it's been so siloed. So any advancements like this can have a profound impact, not just on the operational side of being more efficient, whether it's in patient treatment, patient care, through to clinical trials, but even early detection of illnesses and predictions going forward. So it's great to see stuff like this coming to market soon. What are the biggest challenges that you face in your role, particularly when it comes to working with medical data? Because we know there are many roadblocks along the way. So could you give us some insight into what it's like trying to work with medical data and how it's unique in its challenges?
Sure. So there are two, I wouldn't want to call them obstacles, but there are two factors, let's say, that may make the engagement into this area a little bit tricky and sometimes difficult. And this is the HIPAA compliance and the FDA approval requested before any product sees the face of the world. They are both in place for very good reasons, and we very much respect that. But in our line of business, we chose a path that bypasses, in a way, the necessity of having FDA approval, simply because FDA approval is required for a finalized product before it can be used for diagnosis, but it is not necessary for extracting the training material that is going to lead to that product. So as I mentioned before, we go into hospitals, and should you wish to extract lungs or livers out of CT scans for the purpose of training an algorithm to do this automatically in the future, well, that initial training data set doesn't need to go through this process. And as such, we made our path forward rather easy. However, if it was to get involved directly into productizing a solution that would have extracted these things for the purpose, these organs, for the purpose of diagnosis or otherwise, that would have been an absolute necessity. And as such, it would have been something that we had to file an application for and wait several years, because this is usually the case before it gets approved. In the case of HIPAA compliance, HIPAA is a framework protecting private information from patients. Again, we are very respectful of this, and we make sure that our practices are such that guarantee that no such thing as private information of any shape and form are being exposed to any part of our algorithms or the outside world. So we work with pixels explicitly. So once the image files are available for us, we just extract the pixel content and discard everything else. We do not store files. We do not store data of this nature. And as such, we are in compliance with everything that is being requested.
I think it's important to note that you guys have found a way to work with the system, but also get your solutions to market as quick as possible, which is great for innovation, and it gives you guys the confidence to continue to build more products along those lines. When you look at ElectrifAI as a business, there are lots of different amazing products servicing different areas. But from where you sit, what are you most excited about for the company over the next 2 to 3 years?
I believe that as people get to experience our products, they gain confidence about them, and they do understand the benefits of using the technology that we're putting forward. And I think that there will be an increased interest into this technology, and as such, an increased portfolio from our side. Right now, we started with a few basic organs, and we produce segmentations at scale for these organs, but the list, let's say, of other candidate organs is expected to increase. But another very interesting topic, which is in line with what I said before, that we dare to walk the last mile, is actually to go a step beyond the segmentation of organs and see what are the different conditions, what are the different diseases living as a footmark, as a footprint into the organs. So get the symptoms out. The moment you can do this, essentially that would allow a new wave of products to emerge that would fine-tune on specific conditions and would be in the position of quantifying them, and as such make better predictions, better understanding of the different diseases, and as such promise better health care.
Yeah, that's amazing to sort of visualize what's coming down the line with products like this and how you guys can really revolutionize preventative care by early detection and looking at patterns. Talking about the success of the business as a whole, you and I spoke pre-COVID, and you guys have been doing amazingly well, particularly over the last few years. What are the plans for growth and for particularly within the data team for individuals who are interested in this type of computer vision technology? What future opportunities might there be?
I believe that one of the natural expectations for a team that is specializing in medical imaging is to have medical experts involved into the process as well. So right now, to a large extent, everything that we produce, and that is not necessary for diagnostic purposes, but also for the simple task of organ segmentation, needs to be verified by some expert. So I think that sooner or later we will see some of these experts becoming parts of the team, not only for the purpose of validation, but also for guidance. So it is very important that everything we do, we're not a medical company in any way, but everything that we do for the medical industry to actually make sense according to the way that the actual doctors and experts think so.
Well, look, you and I have spoken quite a bit based on your specific division, which is incredibly exciting. But at a broad level, what are the objectives for ElectrifAI with the current line of products, and what can we expect to see being added in over the future? I would encourage everyone to check out the product line because it's quite interesting, particularly when you look at services within education and workforce and attention. So, what are the exciting projects that are coming down the line from ElectrifAI as a broader business?
I think that in days of crisis like the ones that we're going through, it is very important to be able to optimize the way that companies can save money, that the ways that essentially the companies will identify at minimizing losses and make the very best use of their assets. And this is pretty much the topic of our products. So I think that we are playing a very significant role out there today because a lot of companies are under huge stress, and our technology is allowing them in an AI-assisted manner to identify all those areas that are potential weaknesses and correct them ahead of time in order to make sure that they reduce indeed risk and cost and maximize profit. So as we go along, we are enhancing this technology, we're improving it, we're adding new features, and I think that what can be expected is that our models will be in the position of capturing a wider range of factors that might influence the performance of individual companies. We're very good at this. We've been doing this for 16 years now, and this was a huge success and continues to be a huge success till this very day. And I'm pretty sure it will in the future.
Excellent. Well, I think for anyone who's familiar with your product line would certainly speak to that. For myself personally, I found the medical imaging side, which is your division, incredibly fascinating and really exciting. So we're looking forward to seeing what you guys can continue to accomplish. Georgios, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, JP.
AI in Action is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Alldus offer an exec search program. Alldus can help you discover how data science and AI can transform your company. With our unrivaled network of C-suite executives and senior AI professionals, we offer retained search services across the US and Europe. Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.